All right, Desiree, are you back at your desk now?
I am.
Awesome. Okay. Well, it's 8:01, so let's get started. We're 1 minute late. I acknowledge that to our meeting. And this is our Thursday training meeting for Level 1 course supervisors. And who we have on the call are Tom Nestor, Monica Dubé, Jamie Owsley, and Des Salmon. So welcome to all of you. Des, did I pronounce your last name properly?
Yep, it's like the fish.
Just like the fish. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I looked at it. I don't think I've ever said your last name out loud. You're like a one name person. You're a big and bold individual. And you always show up for me as Des. So.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's just like the fish, you know.
Good. Cool. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Who would like to generate the bold statement?
I will.
Okay.
We, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves, holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing in which transformation occurs, causing the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever is needed.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
Welcome.
Just let that sink in. I just wanted to share something that has nothing to do with anything, but I have an employee who has a chronic illness, and recently he's been getting just really negative reports from his doctors. He has a lung issue, and he got a good report today. So I just had a conversation with him right before this call, and I just want to rejoice because he's just, you know, he thinks he's going to live now. So it was just really great to hear that. So
It's all stemming from that harassment conversation. All
it
good
must
things
be,
are
huh?
following.
A clearing for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Tom and Monica and I had a conversation today about the harassment policy, both sexual and just plain old harassment. And I thought it was an awesome call.
Plain harassment, is that the kind Tim does to me? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's his stand for you.
No, I'm
James.
just teasing. I just know Tim could take the teasing. That's why I used him as an example.
Yeah, right.
No, that does.
I'm sorry that
guys.
your employee's going through that, Sherry, and I hope things continue.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Yeah.
That does remind me something that Tim had brought up. Maybe you want to mention, Sherry. It's cool that we can be kind of casual and joke around, but, you know, these type of calls may be looked at as possible trainings for the program, like more globally. I didn't know if you wanted to mention something about that, Sherry.
Right. So we had a conversation. Actually, I had a conversation several weeks ago, and Meryl, I know you guys know Meryl from the group calls out of San Diego, course supervisor.
Uh-huh.
She's working with Gabrielle in Texas, who is a level 4 applicant, and they're looking at putting together a formalized training program for the course supervisor training for level 1s. And so one of the things that they've done is they heard that we had this program going. So they reached out to us, and they're actually reviewing all of our tapes and how we've approached our training of level 1s in terms of the distinctions. So there is a possibility that will adapt this kind of a structure and even use some of our tapes for introducing some of the distinctions to the level 1 course supervisors. So
cool.
Yeah. So
You can invite them to come on the call whenever they want too.
That's
right?
true. We could. Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly with
Houston.
Tom. Particularly with Houston, you know, they're in the same ILP program as us. And, you know, a lot of them came when we had the course supervisor training back in October.
Yeah, in that training.
They're our region.
So
that's the word I was looking for.
Our region?
Yeah.
They're in the region. Yeah. So
I have fond memories of my ILP weekend in Houston.
in Houston, do you?
Yeah, we all rented a condo, like 6 or 7 of us.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a great time.
Yeah. I had a good ILP weekend in Houston. It was over Halloween.
Nice.
A lot of fun. Well, I was thinking about the ILP program today. So anyway, we should keep that in mind when we do these calls and try to maintain a particular structure that maybe would be appropriate for rolling out to level ones across the program. Yes. So very much more maybe focused and intentional than perhaps we've demonstrated in the past.
Maybe, but I also feel that the way we like kind of start the calls, we're all very related. Even though like I've never met face to face anyone besides Monica and Sherry. I've never met Jamie. I've never met Des. I've never met Tim. I've never met Pedro. I actually have met Josh and Noah. Those are the ones that are usually on it.
Yeah.
So, but we're all, it's a way, not only is it a way for us to become more skillful in the distinctions, but as core supervisors, we're more related. So when I finally do a program with Jamie or Des or Tim or whoever, like I already know them. Like we're related, we're friends, and I feel like, you know, we'll be able to work together that much more easily because it's not like just you know, meeting up with another course supervisor I've never met or don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Tom. It's true. You've mentioned this in the past that I think our calls really contribute to the development of community and our being able to relate to each other, both individually and as group. So it does deliver on that promise of the program that we do have a more casual beginning to the program. And it really depends on, you know, how the program decides they want to move forward in terms of delivering training. Right. So it would be something that we would want to be present with and say, you know, it does contribute to us, and perhaps it would not be a contribution to the San Diego community to hear our conversation. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do something like try to start the call at 7:50 and start recording at 8.
At 8.
So
Yeah.
that we could all kind of
That's an
talk
idea.
for 10 minutes. Or even if it's like 8 o'clock, we start recording at 8:10 and it still goes till 9:10, something like
Well,
that.
I have a little secret for you. Tim does edit the calls, and he does generally edit some on the front end.
Okay, got it.
And
I wonder
on
if
the
he's going to
back
leave my
end.
little joke in.
Yeah.
Well, that's what made me think of it, because I, you know, was being very casual here. And, you know, thinking about the ILP is kind of like the distinction between a classroom or a homework party, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of the phoning agreements in the ILP, and I think everyone here has done the ILP except Monica. Is that right? Des, you've done it, correct? Yeah, you've been in IL. I don't know if you're still in IL, but I know you have been in IL.
When I came into the program, I was, but I completed.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
He was one of my phone coaches.
Yeah, I
Oh, yeah.
That's
There
how
you
I
go.
met Des.
yeah.
He made me dance.
I can believe that. Yeah. Well,
You're so significant.
Yeah. I can believe that too. So every phoning we would start out just with a clearing, you know, just like anybody need to say anything, just to be clear and to be available to what we're up to and what our stated goal and objective is on the phoning agreement. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you guys have that experience as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Des,
Yeah.
was your program that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was usually somebody restoring integrity for being late, but people could
Yeah.
share other things as well.
Or how they didn't want to be there. One of the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be me. I don't want to be here. I hate phone-ins. I don't want to make any calls.
I don't want to call one more person. Oh my God. Yeah. So
But that said, I think you know, that is what we're doing. Just
Mhm.
getting whatever there is to say and share at the beginning. So it takes about 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's really perfect.
yeah, it is.
I like-
Yeah.
And then maybe you could create the intention of the call, and then we're in that intention, Sherry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does anybody need to say anything or have anything that you'd like to say before we get started with the intention of the call?
I'd like to acknowledge Tom, when you did share about the community aspect you were getting from these calls, that really enrolled me in wanting to be on these calls.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Monica, anything there for you?
I guess I just feel a little bit somber tonight because of my friend, but I found out my friend has a brain tumor, so I'm just kind of feeling a little sad about that. And yeah, otherwise I'm good. I mean, I liked our call earlier, and
Yeah.
I think I'm good. It's been a long day too. I started at 7 this morning.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I think the most amazing thing about that earlier call was that we had the call in, you know.
Yeah. That we had it at all.
It wasn't our smoothest flowing call ever.
It really wasn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we just, you know, shifted our occurring and had our call. So that was truly a remarkable experience. So thank you guys for that opportunity. Okay, so tonight's training call, our intention is to complete on the distinctions of the Landmark Forum, specifically the distinction of breakdowns, and then to do a couple more mocks with each other regarding participants wanting to leave the course and not be here on Tuesday night, not complete the course. And that's pretty much what we had planned. And then a conversation generated by you guys as to what you'd like to see next on these calls. We have, as I said, now this is our final call for the distinctions of the Landmark Forum. We got together the level ones yesterday. We have a Wednesday call, the third Wednesday of the month, or the second Wednesday of the month, and we created that excuse me?
You said the level ones. It's the level one mentors.
The level one mentors, I'm sorry. We got together as a group of mentors and we created that we would continue with the program in these calls, specifically looking at delivering the distinctions of the advanced course. So just continuing along, not just continue, but continuing the conversation around distinctions and going through the advanced course. And so that's what we said, that's what we declared we would do, but we would certainly want to hear what you would like to use these calls for and what you would like to see generated on these calls. So at the end of the call tonight, we'll have that conversation for you guys to generate. Okay, so breakdowns. Des, were you on the call last week?
I was not.
You weren't, okay. All right, so we did talk about what a breakdown is. And a breakdown, very simply, is a failure to produce a result against a possibility. And that's all that it is. So, does anybody have anything that they would like to say around a breakdown and what it is?
I'm going to frame that in my office.
Good, good.
So if
And
you
what-
could say it one more time, just so I could actually take those.
Okay, so it's a failure to produce an intended result against a declared possibility. So you always have to have that component of the possibility. And it's just a failure to produce an intended result. What we generally go to, I don't know about you guys, but what's generally right there for me in a breakdown is the meaning that I bring to the breakdown and a personal evaluation of who I am. Like, I'm a failure. It becomes an ontological experience rather than a failure to produce a particular result against a declared possibility.
Now,
Yeah.
did you also discuss a breakthrough, like what the,
Yes.
I know those
Uh-huh.
usually go together.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
So when you start to get that a breakdown is simply a failure to produce an intended result against a declared possibility, you then have the opportunity to create a breakthrough from nothing. You're not mired in your internal dialogue about being a failure as an ontological experience. Rather, you can have a clearing from the declaration of a breakdown, and you're able then to create a new possibility and have breakthrough results in that area of your life. So that's what it makes available to you.
okay.
You know, Sherry, I'm really glad I'm here and you created that, because of course, I knew this and I know it in the back of my mind, but I wasn't immediately present to the against the possibility. And I'm reminded how important that is, because for me, like if I just take the breakdown as it's a failure to produce a result, it kind of just lives there as a failure. But against the possibility really takes it to the world of empty and meaningless, and it gets me out of the world of there's something wrong. It's just like that.
Yeah.
Which is what leaves me with a space to actually take an action rather than be disempowered by it.
Perfectly said. Yeah. Yeah. It's that we often forget that it's against the declared possibility. And that's such an important component, because if we're not present to that, we go right into the, oh my God, I failed. I didn't produce, I didn't do it. I'm no good. And, right away our brain just automatically goes there, because as you remember from all of our distinctions as human beings, we're born into a conversation that there's something wrong here.
Well, at least after our ex from age 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Once we get language, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really an amazing shift in who you get to be when you discover the power of declaring a breakdown and recognizing something as a breakdown rather than as I'm a failure. Yeah. As Jamie said, you get to be present to the possibility that you've declared and come from nothing and create your possibility newly. And then you'll have rise to new actions to take rather than being mired in the muck. Yeah.
Such a
I
powerful
remember,
distinction.
sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
There you go ahead, Tom.
I was just remembering, I used to think that saying I declare a breakdown was kind of like, what's the point? And I don't remember exactly what the breakdown was, but I do remember the first time I said, I declare a breakdown, like all of a sudden this freedom, this like, well, I don't know, it's hard to explain. There was this opening for me, like nothing was wrong. There was a breakdown, and it was like, and I used to think before I actually said it out loud, oh, that's kind of stupid. Like, you know, that doesn't make a difference. But when I actually said it out loud, like it changed my world. Like it was just like and I have no idea what the breakdown was, because obviously the breakdown isn't the important part, right?
Right.
It's the declaring and the creating a new possibility.
Yeah.
And it just gave me so much power and freedom. It was really cool.
It really does. It takes it out of the realm of there's something wrong, and it's just a declaration.
Yeah.
And it can still have urgency.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, it's really the perfect distinction for a course supervisor when it's like you're writing the center manager and your forum leader breakdown. There is no advanced course team, and it was promised to be full by today, you know.
Yeah.
And wow, that's an uncomfortable email for me to write, you know, but it's like, well, I have to get above the discomfort and just, well, this is the breakdown. I'm responsible for this course. And it just really acknowledges what's so, and, you know, then there's actions to take and be in communication.
Yeah, it's really brilliant what you and Tom both said. Like, it does provide you with a certain amount of freedom, that declaration of the breakdown. And it looms as, for me, it always loomed as, oh my God, I failed declaring a breakdown. That's a bad thing to do, because I don't really like to fail.
Probably not quite in that language you said that to yourself.
Yeah, right. Might have been a little spicier, yeah. But that's what's there for me right away. And then as I began to be trained as a course supervisor, and I'm able to declare a breakdown with the forum leader, with the center manager, I'm declaring a breakdown that we don't have a team. It creates a space for miracles to arise. I don't think I've ever declared a breakdown and not had a team get filled within like 24 hours. It's just, it's miraculous. And it's all about not living in that world of our identity and our emotional state and our memories and our physical sensations and our mental states. It's all about not staying in that world and coming from nothing and creating newly. And it's really our access to it. And if we stay in that world where we're just experiencing ourselves as a failure, it paralyzes us. And we don't get to do anything except hang out and make other people responsible for our failure. As a human being, that's often where we go, right? Well, if only the staff member had done their job, or if only they'd listened to me, or if only, you know, my production supervisor had done what he or she said he or she would do. And we just get, all I can think of is mired in the muck, you know. It's like you're just inside of that, and there's no access to any creation when we get stuck there. And the declaration of a breakdown really interrupts that.
Yeah, it's exactly goes back to the world of possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Des, do you hear something newly in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just simply something that I haven't been practicing. The declaration of breakdown, which is newly discovered right now, like out of you discussing it and sharing about it.
Cool.
Like I've have had as usual, a busy week.
Yeah.
And really today I felt really exhausted and trapped in the house. And and with, you know, a list of like endless things to accomplish. And so I can see how I could just declare a breakdown in the possibility of, you know, like my life work not being like what my life is about. Which is like unintended, you know, it's like, I don't know if that translates, but you know, it has an experience attached to it when it becomes like my life, and it has an impact with me ontologically in my physical and my mental well-being. And so I could just declare a breakdown in the possibility versus.
So on the court, and if you don't feel comfortable, you could say no, but on the court, pick something there's a breakdown and just declare it.
Working 12 hours, 3 days in a row.
All right.
That's a breakdown and like an actual structure that I have put in place that I just stopped doing.
Oh, against the possibility. What possibility?
The possibility of balance in life. And so
out of that breakdown, can you declare restate your possibility, or maybe declare a new one? And if I can interrupt again, sorry. If you could like say, I declare, like you have to like say it. But this is like what we talked about the last call. You actually have to say, I declare a breakdown in boom.
Perfect. I declare a breakdown in my work-life balance area of life. Yeah, so I declare a breakdown in an area of life, you know, of work and balance with life. I guess the possibility of having a balanced life, and a healthy like mental experience, or I don't know how to say that, but yeah, just balanced life. And so I'm just looking, as a failure to produce the result of having a balanced life, you know, a possibility I'm creating, possibility of health, and the possibility of joy in my, you know, day-to-day life.
Awesome, got that. So you create a possibility of health and joy.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and I can see, you know, actions to take immediately. I can see, you know, who, you know, I could just share that with my husband, that there's just immediate things that I can see from declaring. So thank you.
What does a balanced life look like for you, Desiree?
You know, waking up to half an hour of coffee or walking the dogs or listening to a podcast before, you know, and then getting into work, and then having breaks for lunch or for eating or for just resting my eyes, and then, you know, finishing or completing at some point, or doing outdoor exercise, and then, you know, if need be, continuing a different task. But really a breaks included so just not a continuous like just in front of my computer sort of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you could totally create that.
Yeah.
Sherry, I think you're muted. Your phone's muted.
That is awesome. I love that. It gives you a space Des, to just like create a whole new world, right? With the
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's happened before. It's not like something new or, that I've never um distinguished. It's just part of how I wind up being.
yeah.
And like if you look at Gitanjali's, conversations from the last 2 weeks, is the more better conversation. More time. Okay, if I put more time in, if I do that better, if I don't stop to do lunch.
Yeah,
Like,
and at the end of the day, where does that get you?
oh my gosh, I'm exhausted, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm lonely, and there's still more to do, and there's lack of
There's
satisfaction.
always more to do.
There's just always more to do.
Yeah. I think that's just like the way we live our lives, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I end up just talking to my dogs mostly. So.
Well, dogs are great listeners. And they never talk back.
Yeah, but I think they're getting really codependent, so I think it's fairly back to them.
Uh,
Oh, that's good.
Thank you for getting in there with me, distinguishing that. Because I even wrote it as you were sharing. I was like, say it out loud. I wrote it down, and then as soon as I said it out loud, then it became real.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to
awesome.
print it and share it and like put it somewhere here where I can see it.
Great work.
Really great. Thanks, Tom.
I didn't do anything. It was all Des.
Yeah.
And you.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. Yeah, I had a day like that. I failed to produce that result in my life today too, against the possibility of being peace and love. Yeah. Like I got home at 7:30 tonight and I realized I had not peed the entire day.
How does that happen?
It's
So you
so
want to
That's getting real.
do you want to declare a breakdown in your area of going to the restroom?
It's so real.
But
So real.
yeah, it was like I wasn't even present to it, but it's just like, wow, it hit me like a pound of bricks. And when it hit me, it was like, oh yeah, that's just failure to produce a particular result, right? Against my possibility. And so a whole new world opened up. So it's just awesome. Yeah.
I had a similar thing too. I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. I was back when I used to have gigs, playing gigs all the time. There would be times when I would just be working, 7 nights in a row, never having a night off. And of course, then I would run rackets on that, saying, oh, I'm just working all the time. And then finally, I was just like, you know what? I'm taking Sundays off. I'm just not going to play gigs on Sundays unless there's something really important I want to do, in which case I'll make sure I schedule another night off that week. And that really worked for me, but I had to actually do it because otherwise I would just keep taking whatever came,
And then you're running rackets against the thing that you love to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go figure.
No, it's really a way to own my life, and I didn't miss doing those gigs on Sunday or, it was fine.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I tell people, even the Lord rested one day a week, so who am I,
That's great, Jamie. Yeah. So we did continue the conversation last week, and the way that breakdown is generally presented in the Landmark Forum is the Landmark Forum leader works with a guest, and they look at how in language we create our reasons to be related to what we want to accomplish. And we do that by using the word but rather than and in a sentence. And they have us look at the impact of using but rather than and as the conjunction in a sentence. So if you have a possibility of losing weight, or Desiree, like I have the possibility, I declare the possibility of being healthy and balanced, but I have too much work to do, but I have no place to go in my house, but I have this, that, and the other thing. Those all become then to occur to us as reasons in the way of our being able to produce that possibility. They're barriers to our achieving the possibility by using but as the conjunction in the sentence. And so the example is remove the word but and put in the word and then it takes on a whole different meaning because it eliminates the reasons for your not being able to achieve your possibility. So my possibility is to achieve a balanced life, and I have a lot of work to do, and I have a crowded home, and I have whatever else you have. So can you guys hear the difference between using and rather than but in a sentence? How but automatically gives you reasons for not achieving your possibility, whereas and is just a statement of circumstances when you put in and. Do you guys hear that?
Yes.
So there's a request to modify your language such that you're not using but and you're using and when you're stating what your possibility is and what your circumstances might be. And then you can get to see that there's really no relationship between your circumstances and you're producing your result.
Good. I have something to add. I've heard a few really brilliant graduates use and, but really in the background, there's still a but. I'm sure you have heard it as well, which ends up, doing the same thing to the conversation. So it just, I remember I had stopped using it because it became like such a thing around, I don't even remember when, but the people I was, being with in that time, I was like, well, but you're still using, it still sounds like a but. And it became really contrived. But I can see, again, with the same as the breakdown, the parent breakdown, I just haven't really been practicing.
Yeah.
The transfer, transforming that language, just, just watching it, not to become some sort of clutch to still, but.
Yeah, and isn't that like being a human being? Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think like with anything, it's the meaning that we put behind things. So if you, even though you're saying and, if the meaning behind it is but, it's going to come off as a but and not an and.
That's right.
Right. So you really have to be present and use your cognitive skills to conjure up the difference. Because when you do say but, it's like it occurs then as that is a reason. I really want, to have a balanced life, but there's just too much work to do. Whereas if you say, I really want a balanced life, that's my possibility, and there's just too much work to do. The two they're not symbiotic.
Yeah, a but is like a cutoff. It's like an either or,
Right. And is like having it all.
Yeah.
I
You
have a,
could, right? Yeah.
I have another question because I find it, and I want your experience as many years you've been as a course supervisor. I find it most guests and graduates actually really get those two distinctions
Uh-huh.
presented to them. Have usually people come to you and ask you to like create it with them or something, or how do you as a course supervisor usually have to deal with it with these two distinctions?
You're right. I don't recall a lot of questions or concerns around the distinctions, those distinctions.
But it's
People
also
do-
Tuesday night. It's the end, and then it has
Right.
like that cartoon that's really kind of cool. To
Yeah,
describe
yeah.
it.
It
Yes.
does.
That's
That
true.
cartoon.
With participants, that's true, but that could come up many times with your assisting team or your production supervisor, for example.
Oh,
And then you get to train your team in the clearing of that distinction.
Mhm.
Awesome, Jamie. Yes. And even like with a level 1 or a level 3, whatever level you are, it can come up for you anytime
Sure.
because we all live inside the world of reasons because that's our world we're born into. So we all try to attach a reason or a justification or something to go along with our not fulfilling on our declared possibility. That's, it's counterintuitive to separate them out and see them as separate, different statements.
Well, our identity wants nothing to do with possibility.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
It's probably dangerous to mix distinctions, but what comes up for me is also responsibility.
Yeah, well, that's all about what it is, right? It's like, okay, I'm not achieving whatever possibility I've declared, and there has to be a reason for it, and I can't be responsible for that reason. So let's have a go at it. Let's see what we can attach to it. And, ultimately, that doesn't produce the result we're after. It's just a continuation of living inside the world of having a breakdown occur as a personal failure, ontologically speaking, rather than as a failure to produce a particular result. Because if we fail to produce a result and we give it the significance of failing personally, like being significant, we're going to be drawn to come up with reasons why and to justify why we failed. And ironically, that keeps us mired in that world. We should have you playing some music right now. Monica and Jamie, we need to have a little music break.
I was just going to say something about that. This idea of failure to produce, right? The failure to produce a result.
Uh-huh.
Like if I look at that, I think I've felt that way this past at least 1 year, maybe a year and a half. Yeah, because I had an idea I was going to come down here and it was all going to be easy and I was going to do retreats with my sister. I had this whole scenario set up for what was going to happen and none of it happened. Like zero, but
Well, maybe 10%. We started to do a
Not the way
routine
I
with your
thought.
sister.
It wasn't the way I thought it was going to turn out. There's like,
Yeah.
wow. And I realized like the other night I'm taking the money seminar, that all my story around that was tied to the income I did or did not produce, the personal challenges I went through, everything. And I saw that I was living inside this horrible, not horrible story, but story around, I didn't produce what I thought I was going to coming down here. And it was within that story, I was really struggling and suffering and making myself wrong for it. And I just finally saw that that's not so. I mean, other things happened. I grew in so many other different ways that I couldn't foresee. I think if I declared a breakdown and then just saw that I had actions to take, I would have been a lot happier in this past year, to say the
What
least.
is it? There's always suffering is optional, right?
I know.
Yeah. And it
But
doesn't
it was
always
like,
occur that
no,
way.
I'm really failing,
Yeah.
It's just,
It became an ontological experience for you, like, I am a failure. Yeah.
yeah. And all I could see was there was, within that context, I was screwed. Just, there was
Yeah.
no way out. So, none of
So
that, none of that.
somehow you got access to not experiencing that failure to produce a particular result against your possibility as a failure to produce a particular result, as a breakdown against your possibility, as opposed to the meaning that you ascribed to it, which was, I'm a total failure, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think I was thinking I've lost control of my business. I had a lot of story around it, and I just, looking at it now, I laugh at it like, wow, what? If I don't measure it against what I thought I was gonna do, there's just a lot more going on.
Well, if you look at what you did produce, the results that you're producing currently are truly
Now that
extraordinary.
I see it, now that I gave up the story and making myself wrong. Yeah.
Right. You're freed up. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another world here now. Like and I'm actually feeling a lot more at ease and more kind to myself, and just like, oh my God, I went through a year and a half of, kind of like a rebirth, in my business and who I am. So there it is. I think it's extraordinary when I really get to see that living within the I'm wrong, I did something wrong, is literally just screwing with my mind. It's not true. It's never true.
No, it's just a failure to produce a particular result, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The failure to produce the result you thought you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? You even make up that result. Like, that's just something you put there. Like, I want it to look like this.
Yeah.
It's made up.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. We measure ourselves against the thing that we put up there. Like,
You
it has
made
to look
up.
like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's kind of
Isn't that amazing?
it's a
Yeah.
wake-up call. Yeah.
The mind is a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Like you don't want to.
And if I may, Monica, I just had a thought or a memory, I don't know, where I don't know if your friend who's diagnosed now is a graduate, but I have seen a forum leader. I'm not gonna try to even duplicate it now, but I've seen them really create that sickness as of declare as a breakdown for people, and it gives them a lot of freedom. So I don't know if that's something that your friends are graduate or could create with a friend, or even for you to look at through the prism of breakdown
Yeah, thank you, Desiree. I was actually looking at that right when we started getting into the breakdowns. I'm like, oh, I could look at her brain tumor as a breakdown, or I could look at it as a it's what's so, and not give it that much meaning. Although,
Well, distinguish the meaning. The meaning's already been.
yeah, not get yeah right, and but seeing that it's not a total
Right.
disaster, it's just an opportunity for a shift in her life and in how I see what's going on too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
very powerful.
and there's nothing wrong with being sad. There's times to be sad.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Sherry might remember, we did a benefit concert for a friend of mine who passed away from brain cancer. But, how he lived his life in the 5 years since he was diagnosed was very powerful. And that's what's really available by, he wasn't a forum graduate, but I can see that, he lived his life on his terms the way he wanted to, and that would be I think being disempowered by it would be an even greater tragedy,
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And isn't that what we have it? It's like that's the ultimate failure, to die.
Yeah.
Mm.
And yet we're all born to die.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. But we give it that meaning rather than.
Yeah. It's part of our lives.
Yeah, but everything's all made up. We make up everything, so we might as well make up something that we like and that's powerful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is made up. We make it mean. What are we? Meaning making machines. That's what it always comes back
Yeah.
around to, right? We
Yeah,
are
so we might as well make it
meaning
mean
making
something good,
machines. Yeah,
something useful.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's really, it gives you access to having a conversation with her, Monica, possibly to, maybe enroll her in doing the Landmark Forum, but just in looking at her illness and being able to be with her illness.
Yeah, that's what I think it is for me. Just letting her be where she is and know that there's nothing
No.
wrong. She doesn't want to die. She's about to get married. Like,
Mm-hmm.
however, she's I've seen a lot of miraculous healings. My friend that had a tumor in her neck, she's walking around. She's supposed to be dead.
That's
Like,
some crazy stuff right there. That is
right?
that is the biggest miracle I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Claire's
I
amazing.
met her when she was in the hospital dying.
Oh,
Now
no
she-
kidding.
Her neck broke from cancer.
Oh
Like
my
her
God.
bones in her neck broke. She's in a neck brace, bedridden. Family came down because she's gonna die, and now she's walking around.
And she's
Wow.
turning
It's
her
on-
she's
it's-
turning her head.
It's only a miracle. There's no
It was
other
a complete miracle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told my friend with the brain tumor that story today because I
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
her to have the peace of mind that anything's possible,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because she's also an energy healer. Like all my friends are healers. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just incredible when you think about.
They don't know each other?
No. I get around.
That's what I've heard.
Understatement. She's playing her music in South America. This
I'm
weekend
all
she's
over
off to
Spain.
Vietnam. Interrupt child trafficking
God.
in Vietnam. You're not doing anything. Yeah, you're just,
I'm a failure. To produce. Oh my God. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
Wow.
extraordinary.
Life.
Yeah, there you have it.
So funny.
Okay, so do you guys want to do a mock or do you want to just call it a night?
And there's the other conversation too,
Oh,
Sherry.
yeah,
about-
let's have that conversation. Let's call it a night in terms of distinctions. I think we're complete on this. Are you guys complete on it?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm beyond complete.
I
A whole review.
fall asleep.
I would sign them all off on breakdowns.
Thank you. Considering what we've just been through.
And
Last-
Des pretty much did a mock. So
Yeah, yeah, you did. Yeah,
real life situation, not made up.
yeah.